Hello there, world of tankers. Welcome back to another one of my videos. I am Blitz, and today I'm going to be talking about the T-26E5 Sheriff and as well as the T-32. Now, most of you do know about the rant video I made on the tank a couple days ago, or at least a week ago, saying how I just completely hated the T-26E5, a couple reasons why. And then, I felt kind of bad that I said the tank was so awful. I actually started to do some decent games in the tank, so I made a post saying, if you guys wanted to see a redo on the tank, a remake of the video, tell me in the poll what you think. So, yes, 80% of you voted that you did want to see the tank in a poll again. So what I did in response is I actually started at the Tier 5, the T1 Heavy, ground all the way down to the T-32 this past week to get the T-32, of course, which you're seeing here. And what I wanted to do is I really wanted to compare the T-32 to the T-26E5 because those are the two closest competitors, and that if the T-32 is better than the Sheriff, then there's really just absolutely no point to buy it. And to be honest, the reason I was just so angry about the tank when it came out is because it's in crates. Why the hell would you sell a tank that is good at best? It's subpar in my opinion. Why would anybody spend money on a tank like that when you can run a T-32 and get better games out, or a T-26E4 Super Pershing? There's no point whatsoever, and I'd understand if they made the tank $35, $40, because it's not in crates, but why the hell would you make a crate tank, maybe cost somebody $150 that might not know much about the game, being deceived by the video you posted where VK168 bounces it? That would deceive a new player very, very easily, and that's why Wargaming does it. They post those videos so that new players say, oh my god, that huge heavy tank just bounced that Sheriff, oh my god, it must have overpowered armor. And it doesn't. It really has awful armor, and the really tricky thing about the tank is that Wargaming says it's this really heavily armored heavy. I put a bunch of stuff, saying how they did advertise that in my other video. If you haven't seen it, I'll link it in the description. But they say it's this big, badass heavy tank that can just take on all of its opponents and easily flank them, use one of the highest average damage per minute tanks at Tier 8, and just tear apart your enemy. But it really doesn't do everything it's meant to be, in my opinion. It's not spectacular by any means. And I pulled out the T-32, and I think I only have around 20 games in it, maybe not even 20 games. And I played these two games you're going to see here in a row. And you can see we've already blocked 2,000 damage in this game. I looked through all of my Sheriff replays. I don't think I have one game where I blocked over 1,500 damage in the Sheriff. I've got games in the T-32 where I blocked 4,000 damage. It's really just a no-brainer. Why would you pick the Sheriff over a tank like the T-32? Now, the Sheriff does earn good credits, but the T-26E4 Super Pershing is the best Tier 8 credit earner in the entire game. Why? Again, there's just no point. And, I was really harsh on the tank. I said I hate it. Now, thinking back on the video, I definitely do not hate the Sheriff. I think it's an okay tank. It's definitely good in some scenarios. It can be broken in certain areas. Like if you're on a ridgeline where the enemy just can't flank you, but they're sitting out in the open, or you can permanently track them, yes, it can be overpowered. But the chances of that happening are just so slim and so low that it's just never gonna happen. And the difference is that the Sheriff just isn't flexible. If you have an RHM, it will penetrate you. You're not going to bounce any shells. A VK168, like they show in the video, that tank can tap you for 460 damage, and you'll tap him back for 240 if you're lucky. If you shoot a heat, you're only doing 200 damage. 200 damage, he's going to be doing 120% more average damage every shot he fires at you, and he is not going to have a tough time penetrating your hull. So, it's just a no-brainer, in my opinion, why somebody would pick the Sheriff over the T-32. You really just need to run the 32 to really understand how much better it is over the Sheriff. And I got some comments in my video on the Sheriff one saying that the tank's overpowered because it has the most damage per minute in the game on all these statistics, how it's quick, and all these things. Run it like a medium, don't run it like a heavy. But I don't want to run a heavy tank that's listed as a heavy in the game, like a medium. I really just don't find the point of it. And it's not, if the tank was quick, if it was like a T-26 E4 Super Pershing where it had pretty quick backup speed, pretty quick traverse speed, I'd be like, okay, I can run it as a medium. But it's not. It's quick in the top speed, where it can go 40 kilometers per hour forward, and it does have a decent power to weight ratio. But it really falls apart in the traverse speed. And when you run a tank that, you push up against a tank like, let's say, the CDC, if he tracks you, he's just going to get behind you, and then he'll track you again, and then he'll circle you, and you'll be dead, because your traverse speed is just awful. And the T-32, I can run this like a heavy. You can see here, I'm pushing this up against an M6 Experimental. I'm going to be pushing it up against a Tier 9 Conqueror. I am not afraid. Their entire team pushed this way. I'm not afraid of them. If I was in the Sheriff here, I would be crapping myself. I would probably try and just get out of here as quickly as possible, because I know that I can't do anything to fight them off. And people aren't scared of the Sheriff. They know, this tank does 240 damage. What's it going to do to me? Scratch the paint? If this Conqueror had the good gun here, he'd be tapping me for 400, and if I was in the Sheriff, I'd only be tapping him for about 240. And that Conqueror has a very, very nice damage per minute. So it would just tear you apart, and it wouldn't be scared of you. He'd just shoot you once, back up, pull back out, shoot you. The T-32, it's a very, very well-armored tank, and it's a very tough one to take out, unlike the Sheriff. And not to mention, it does more alpha damage at 310 over the 240. That's 70 more damage, which doesn't sound like much, but that is quite a bit. That means that you can roll up, and I think you can actually roll 400 with this gun. I think the max roll with the Sheriff, I think it's like, what, 390? Not even 390, maybe like 350. It's barely anything, to be honest. And it really just disappoints me. I really feel they should have just made it a medium, given it a little bit more engine power, better power to weight ratio, given it better traverse speed. I really think they could have done a better job in the tank. And I just don't understand why they had to put it in crates. And not to mention, the T-32 has these new consumables added to it, which makes it actually go quicker when you put on the engine boost than the Sheriff. You can turn quicker, your turret traverse speed is quicker, the tank has, I think, a top speed of 45 once you click that on. Not to mention, you can get on the reactive armor, which means that you take less damage for 15 seconds, 20% less. You have the sandbag armor, which gives you 1,690 hit points if you put it on. That's tier 9 heavy tank hit points, and that's what I'm running here. You can see this game, however, I didn't block a crazy amount of damage because I have those extra hit points. I would have only been sitting around 230-ish hit points this game if I wasn't running that sandbag armor, making me pretty much a one-shot to that CDC with just a little bit above average roll. If I was in the Sheriff here, I would be dead. I would just, I'd be sitting at around 200 hit points at that. I wouldn't have bounced probably any shells. It says I've only blocked 190, but I got hit in the track quite a bit of times. And I really just find the 32 a much more enjoyable tank. And I'm not sure what, Meadsy or Martin or any of the other YouTubers think, or even Skate. But if any of you are watching, try and pull out the T-32 for a bit and compare it to the Sheriff, and let me know your opinions, because personally, I just feel the 32 has so many more advantages, especially after this new update over the Sheriff. It really just completely makes it useless. And again, why would anybody want to buy crates for a tank that performs worse or even at the same level of the tech tree variant? I know you guys are going to say, well, in your other videos you've complained, why are premiums better than, the normal tech tree counterparts like the IS-3 compared to the IS-5? Why is the IS-3 so much worse than the IS-5? But in that video I was saying that it's a good way to earn credits, but it has to be unique. Nobody wants to run a boring premium. It's just going to be boring to run. The Pantera is one of my favorite tanks at tier 8. I would 100% run the Pantera over the Lorraine 40T because even though I'm low on credits, I just think the Pantera is more fun to run. So if Wargaming would have made this T-2065 a medium tank or just something that was fun to run and unique at the tier, it would have just been so much more of a gem at its place. But because it's so much like the T-32, but yet worse in pretty much every way in the armor, the turret armor, The gun doesn't do as much damage, however, it does have good damage from it. I'll give you guys that. But again, what it says on paper just isn't how the tank performs in real battle. I hope you guys did enjoy this video, though, and I hope you liked my final verdict on the Sheriff, and pretty much it still is don't buy it. Even if it comes out for, I'd say, $30, still don't buy it. The T-34 is a better choice. The T-26 E4 is a better choice every day. Until that Sheriff comes out for 5,000 gold, I wouldn't say buy it. But until the next one, guys, I hope you did like it. Smash that like button if you did. If you didn't, hit me up with a downvote. Let me know why you didn't like it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video.